Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Chris, arch-usa.com. Another episode of Insider Ties. And in today's discussion, I'm pulling the article from the website over here, and I'm dropping it here on YouTube for you guys to get the same information that I'm sharing on the website with the business side of the sneaker industry. And today's discussion is on New Balance is being sued for making the claim that their shoes are made in the USA. Now, New Balance was sued once before, so there's a precedent. So what I did with the title of the article over here is I named it How a Precedent Contributes to a New Lawsuit for Made in the USA by New Balance, which is way too confusing. I should have made a better title. If you're going to follow my lead and become a blogger for a specific industry, don't make confusing titles like I just did. Do a better job and just make it New Balance is getting sued for claiming their shoes are made in the USA. That's the topic here. Let's get into it. All right, so I'm going to read a couple of quotes. I'm going to start this with a couple of quotes, and these quotes are going to help you guys get an understanding of what's happening here. If at any point it gets confusing, I'll try and clarify, or I'll add notes while I'm editing this video. So, first quote, New Balance sneakers marketed as made in the USA may have up to 30% of its parts made in China and abroad. Every brand is like that. But let's not deviate. Let's stick with the quotes. Second quote, on 12/20/2021, Cristostomo filed a personal property fraud lawsuit against New Balance Athletics, Inc. This case was filed in U.S. District Courts, Massachusetts District. The case status is pending, other pending. That means it hasn't gone to trial. It's not going to trial. However, there's a precedent, which is why this is a really interesting topic of discussion, and I just simply want you to be a little bit more informed. I was initially going to name this post why I think the new lawsuit against New Balance will be thrown out. I stopped short of making that claim because of two important issues. Now, let's get something clear. I'm not a lawyer, and this should not be taken as fact. This is an opinion-based post, and it's based on my own research. So you'll have to go out and do more research, but I have all of the links in the article at the bottom of that article on the website. I'll put the link to the article in the description. So let's get to it. In argumentative essay writing, the biggest requirements for your paper to succeed are proof and a source. Proof/sources give claims validity and support. If you watched any courtroom drama, you've heard of a precedent being set, right? When this happens, odds are the lawyer arguing the case will win if they're using a previous case as support, proof, evidence, right? In law, a precedent is a prior case that can be established, that can be used to establish a position for or against an argument. In other words, the prosecution and the defense can use previous cases to support their arguments. Same thing in the paper. If you're arguing negatively against something, or you're arguing positively in the positive for something, then you have to find proof, and then you have to quote it. New Balance, to get back to what we're doing here, New Balance is in a difficult position due to the precedent in this article below. So listen to this quote. Here's another quote. $750,000 settlement has been reached in a class action lawsuit alleging New Balance shoes contain a misleading made in the USA label. If a person purchased New Balance shoes with made in the USA on the label between December 27, 2012 through January 24, 2019 in California, that person could get up to $10 per pair from the class action settlement. Now, there's a reference for that. It's down at the bottom. I'm going to clarify that and explain what this means. The previous lawsuit in that reference was in California. This new lawsuit from last month is in Massachusetts. And this is troublesome for New Balance. A lawsuit could be initiated in every state where New Balance sold a shoe that was labeled as made in the USA. Because New Balance settled for this $750,000 in California, that could be argued as an admission of guilt. Which is why I was going to say the case should be thrown out. Now, that quote that I just announced with the class action lawsuit from California added stipulations. So here's another reference point from the lawsuit in California. I haven't gotten to the new lawsuit. That's the Massachusetts one. I'm not discussing that just yet. What I'm trying to explain to you is that the reason I didn't say that this case would be thrown out is because of the precedent of California. But here are the stipulations that were added in that case. In addition to monetary compensation, New Balance has also agreed to no longer use the phrase made in the USA on the front of the tag or on the outside of the shoebox. Made in the USA. Remember that. On the back, in clear readable font, the hang tag will include the following sentence or words to a similar effect. New Balance made is a premium collection that contains domestic value of 70% or greater. The New Balance class action settlement states this. All right, so what am I saying with this quote? All of that information, because it's a bit confusing. Here's a summation. In California, the plaintiffs sued New Balance for claiming that their shoes were made in America when the fact was only a percentage of the shoe was made in America. The materials were sourced from outside of the country. New Balance did not agree. They settled for $750,000. But that settlement can be argued by another lawyer that New Balance is admitting guilt by paying those people. That's my summation of the case in California. What does that have to do with the case in Massachusetts, the one that was just brought up that I mentioned at the beginning of this article? New Balance has already adjusted their language on their website, right? And we can prove this here. New Balance Made contains a domestic value of 70% or more. Made makes up a limited portion of New Balance's U.S. sales. And they also added the verbiage here. So they've changed that. They've explained that. So if New Balance is following the rule in California and they are being clear that made is 70% made in the U.S., that original suit can be thrown out, right? Not quite. So if they've adjusted it, the new lawsuit doesn't have any merit. However, while the precedent from California is set, a lot has changed since the California class action lawsuit was filed, argued, and closed, which leads me to my point of discussion that this new case could be thrown out unless the following position is argued. So now I'm giving you fodder for the conversation if you're going to have this dialogue with somebody in the sneaker world, right? Important issue number 2. When the initial lawsuit was launched, there weren't really any sneaker brands making shoes in the United States. So we're talking 2012. Remember, the original lawsuit went from 2012 to 2019. There were small batches of sneakers arriving from Adidas and Nike's design studios, but there weren't brands making sneakers primarily in the U.S. That has changed from that time of 2012 to 2019. That's changed. If the lawsuit Cristostomo et al. Versus New Balance Athletics Inc., which was filed in December, argues that New Balance's claim of 70% should be removed because it is false when compared to a company like Community Made, that's a viable discussion which didn't exist when the California lawsuit was launched. Hopefully that's clear. Now, this is where things get a little bit murky. Even Community Made utilizes materials from other countries, although they attempt to source materials in the U.S. and they build their sneakers in downtown Los Angeles. Components of their shoes are made in Italy and in China in some instances. This is why the lawsuit can be difficult to take to trial. But after speaking with a couple of industry vets, they explained that any argument against New Balance is flawed due to verbiage. New Balance was required to change the use of made in the USA. And notice I'm emphasizing the. The brand has adjusted their logo, so I did cover that. And their logos for the made sneakers, it only reads made in USA, or they only show USA. None of this explains where the parts of the shoes are coming from. If a company imports every part of a sneaker and then they claim that it's 100% assembled in the USA, they wouldn't be lying. 100% assembled in the USA. That's not wrong. It's semantics. Made and assembled are synonyms. But here's something that one of my peers explained. With different materials, different upper materials, soles, and internal components needed for each shoe, a brand could nail down a percentage for each style of a shoe that is made, but it's probably going to be a different number for every SKU. What was he saying? He's saying that New Balance can go in and piece together all of the different components. Let's say the upper was made in the USA, right? All of the leather, all of the materials that came together. The insole was made in China, right? How do you gauge how much of a shoe is made where? You have to kind of do it by weight because that's the only scientific method. Now, this came from another peer in the sneaker industry. He was like, when you look at a shoe, you have to weigh that shoe, and that's the only way you can get a percentage. This lawsuit opens the door for a discussion on what exactly it means to be made in the USA. But what my peer was stating in this quote when he said that every SKU could be different because of where all of these parts come from. Now, if the midsole and the outsole are made in China, right, and then it's imported into the United States, and then they put the upper, which was made in the United States, by weight, the majority of that shoe is from China. It's not made in the USA, even though the upper is. That's why the definition is not very clear. So how do we get back around full circle? What this made in the USA thing and the idea of domestic values of 70%, what all of this means, let's read. This means that from one shoe to another, the percentage of domestic value could vary. New Balance is clear in stating that the majority of the shoe is made in the USA. Although the precedent has been set with the California lawsuit, with stipulations placed on New Balance in the original case, the new lawsuit will be difficult to move forward. I think it'll be difficult to move forward for, the obvious reasons. How do you gauge what made in the United States means? How do you gauge that? And if New Balance has already been to a lawsuit about this, isn't it done? Or is this new case capable of going back and using the California lawsuit and saying from 2012 to 2019, we're owed this money for the lie that New Balance made? It's a really interesting discussion, right? Could this new lawsuit use the California ruling to generate a class action lawsuit to cover sneakers bought during the same period in Massachusetts? Possibly. But overall, I think the new case won't even make it to trial. Should New Balance be required to change their verbiage again? Is there a need for more clarification of made in the USA? It's a compelling topic to analyze with the opportunity to introduce more information about where sneakers are manufactured and if sneaker culture, a driver of a lot of the industry, even cares about manufacturing and job opportunities created by the companies they love. This is a really interesting thing. So I wrote this article over here, and I'm trying to make a point that this new case that's being shared on Hypebeast and all of these different websites, this new case, no one is sharing the information of the previous case. The previous case forced New Balance to adjust their made claim, right? So they've adjusted their made claim. And when we go through and we look at other made in the USA shoes, what did they change to verbiage? This says made in USA. Now, I have to go home and look at some of my older New Balance shoes and see if they said made in the USA. Maybe there's a case there. I'm not sure. Let's look at the 992 and see what it says on the tongue. It doesn't even say New Balance 992 made in the USA at all. So this is a brand new shoe, and it seems that they've already changed it and pulled that information away, and they updated the listing. Manufactured in the U.S. for over 75 years and representing a limited portion of our sales, New Balance made is a premium collection that contains a domestic value of 70% or greater. It's still considerable. When you think about the fact that if maybe 20% of the shoes that New Balance makes are made in the USA shoes, some are made in the UK, that's still providing a lot of jobs. So suing New Balance for this kind of language and verbiage may not be something that really goes to trial. It's interesting to think about, man. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this type of content. It's a completely different thing than what everybody else is doing on the site, on YouTube in sneakers. And I'm trying to create a more kind of cerebral sneaker culture. And hopefully you guys appreciate it. But the article's on the site. You can go down below, click the link, and read the article. I hope you guys like this enough to like, share, and subscribe. I know these videos are long. I don't apologize for that, because what I hope is that we're starting to get to a point where the information around sneaker culture is just better. And it's not just, here's a new sneaker, here's this. And I want it to be stronger. I want us all to be more informed, because there's a lot of money in the sneaker industry. And if you guys can get jobs and you realize that all of this kind of information is out here, it's going to empower you. Like, share, subscribe, and that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.